How many heartbreaking declines could have been slowed if someone had just known what not to do? Because sometimes the things we do to help our loved ones are the very things that speed up their decline. In this video, you'll discover 7 care mistakes that feel supportive, but actually backfire. And if you're caring for someone with dementia, knowing what not to do might be the most important thing you learn today. Let's begin. Number 1. Constantly correcting their mistakes. 2 years after her Alzheimer's diagnosis, 79-year-old Harriet could still hold short conversations and crack dry jokes. But whenever she got a detail wrong, like a date or a name, her husband gently corrected her. He thought it would help keep her sharp. "You meant Tuesday, not Wednesday," he'd say with a smile. At first, Harriet nodded and tried again, but gradually, she grew quiet. At family dinners, she stopped joining in. She just sat there, nodding and smiling. One evening, when her daughter asked if she remembered her birthday, Harriet stared at her and whispered, "It's easier to stay quiet than be wrong again." A week later, they found a notepad in her nightstand with names and facts written over and over, as if she were studying for a test she couldn't pass anymore. Experts confirm that constant correcting, even when done lovingly, can damage a dementia patient's confidence. The brain begins to associate communication with failure, creating stress pathways instead of memory reinforcement. Over time, this leads to withdrawal, increased silence, and even faster mental decline. In dementia care, emotional safety is just as important as cognitive support. Instead of correcting every detail, caregivers should focus on connection, not accuracy. Respond to the feeling, not the mistake. New dementia videos daily. Feel free to subscribe. Number 2. Doing everything for them. After his wife's vascular dementia diagnosis, 76-year-old Martin took over everything. He paid the bills, cooked the meals, answered the phone, even picked out her clothes and poured her drinks. "It's just easier this way," he told their daughter. He didn't want her to struggle. But slowly, something changed. Her speech became slower. She stopped getting up before noon and waited to be told when to eat, sit, or move. One afternoon, Martin found her in the kitchen, staring at a spoon. When he asked what she was doing, she said, "I was waiting for someone to tell me what this is for." That's when he realized she hadn't just lost memory, she had lost the ability to act on her own. Research shows that when caregivers do too much, it doesn't just limit independence, it weakens the brain's ability to function at all. Dementia patients need routine stimulation. Small, hands-on tasks like folding towels, buttering toast, or buttoning shirts help preserve motor memory and decision-making. When these tasks are removed, the brain loses the opportunity to engage. Safety is important, but without participation, the mind shuts down even faster. Number 3. Arguing when they're wrong. After his frontotemporal dementia diagnosis, 81-year-old Larry began telling strange, impossible stories. He once claimed he had flown to Chicago that morning, even though he hadn't left the house in weeks. His son, trying to ground him in reality, pulled out the calendar and his untouched suitcase. "Dad, that didn't happen," he repeated. But Larry grew louder, insisting, "I was there. I remember the clouds." Then came the anger. He paced the hallway, slammed doors, and muttered under his breath. That night, he locked himself in the bathroom and shouted, "I know what I know." It took over an hour to calm him. A major study found that arguing with someone who has dementia can trigger emotional breakdowns, delusions, and lasting distrust. Their brain may no longer process contradiction. What seems false to you may feel absolutely real to them. Logic and proof rarely change the belief. They just cause shame, fear, or rage. Instead of challenging them, caregivers should validate the feeling behind it. If they say they went to Chicago, you can respond, Sounds like that trip meant a lot to you. That emotional bridge keeps the connection alive, even when the facts don't. Not on purpose, but through small, repeated habits that feel helpful. Most caregivers don't realize what they're doing wrong until it's too late. But by learning these patterns, you can protect your loved one from faster decline and give their brain the best possible chance. Let's get back to it. Number 4. Hovering or watching too closely. After his Lewy body dementia diagnosis, 74-year-old Calvin grew restless at night. He paced the hallway, opened doors, muttered to himself, and sometimes stood silently in the dark. His wife, afraid he might fall or wander, began watching him constantly. She followed him from room to room, stood in doorways, and even checked on him with a baby monitor. She believed she was protecting him, but one night, Calvin suddenly turned, eyes wide with fear, and shouted, "Why are you always behind me?" He began hiding in the laundry room and unplugging lamps, convinced someone was spying on him. After that, he stopped walking. He stayed in bed most of the day, only getting up when pushed. Experts warn that over-monitoring can trigger paranoia, anxiety, or withdrawal in dementia patients. The brain becomes hypersensitive to being watched, even by loved ones, and misinterprets safety as surveillance. This reaction is especially common in dementia types that involve hallucinations or delusions, like Lewy body. Caregivers should aim for calm presence, not silent pressure. Giving space while staying nearby, through open doors, gentle check-ins, or subtle cues, allows the brain to feel supported, not stalked. Number 5. Over-explaining or talking down to them. When 80-year-old Linda was diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's, her daughter tried to make things easier by explaining everything step by step, slowly and repeatedly. "We're gonna get dressed now, okay? First your socks, then your shoes, then we'll brush your teeth." Her voice was soft, almost sing-song. At first, Linda just blinked and went along, but over time, her expression changed. One morning, she snapped. She threw the toothpaste into the sink and shouted, "I'm not in preschool!" That week, she refused to get dressed unless she was left alone. One afternoon, her daughter found her wearing 2 hats and a winter scarf in August, just to prove she didn't need help. Research suggests that over-explaining and using baby talk can damage a dementia patient's sense of dignity. Even if the brain struggles with memory, the emotional core, the part that knows when it's being condescended to, often remains intact. Talking too slowly, oversimplifying, or repeating like a teacher can spark frustration or rebellion. The brain, even in decline, wants respect. The best approach is using short and clear phrases, but always in an adult tone. Speak with kindness, not control. Number 6. Forcing routines that don't fit anymore. After his diagnosis of mixed dementia, 75-year-old Walter's daughter was determined to keep him on the same routine he'd followed for years. Wake at 6 a.m., breakfast at 7, exercise by 8. Structure keeps him sharp, she insisted. But Walter started resisting. He'd stay in bed when the alarm rang or sit in the hallway refusing to move. Once he poured orange juice into his cereal and muttered, "Breakfast is broken." Then one morning, after she told him for the 3rd time to get dressed, Walter exploded. He slammed the closet door and shouted, "You're not my boss." Then he sat on the floor, rocking, and refused to speak for the rest of the day. That's when his daughter finally realized the routine no longer matched the way his brain worked. Experts agree that rigid routines, while comforting for some, can become overwhelming or even traumatic in mid to late stage dementia. As brain function changes, so does the internal clock, energy level, and tolerance for structure. What once provided stability may now feel like pressure. When routines create more agitation than calm, they become harmful. The better strategy is flexible structure, keeping familiar patterns, but allowing the person to move at their own pace and on their own terms. Number 7. Ignoring their quiet signs of frustration. After her Alzheimer's symptoms worsened, 77-year-old Carol stopped voicing her needs directly. She'd go quiet mid-conversation, clench her jaw, or tap her fingernails on the armrest for long stretches. Her son brushed it off, thinking she was just tired, and walked away without asking how she felt. But the signs kept building. One day at dinner, Carol picked up her water and poured it into her mashed potatoes. When asked, she looked her son in the eyes and said, "Because nobody listens when I speak." That moment hit him harder than any outburst ever could. Many studies show that people with dementia often express frustration through body language, not words. When verbal ability fades, the brain shifts to nonverbal cues, tone changes, facial tension, sudden silence, and repetitive motions. Ignoring these signals can lead to bottled up emotion, which often explodes later as aggression, resistance, or emotional shutdown. Caregivers who learn to recognize subtle signs of distress can intervene with comfort, redirection, and presence before the frustration turns into something deeper. If someone you love is living with dementia, the way you care for them matters more than you think. Avoiding these mistakes could mean the difference between faster decline or slowing it down.
And there you have it. What are your thoughts? Next, dive into this video for more essential tips to transform your health and help you thrive. You're going to love it. Thanks for watching Healthy End, and we'll see you there.